Today on America's Court with Judge Ross.
And he's saying, I'm going to take care of this right now, and I want to make sure I knock those suckers out. Well, then it makes sense what he did. When you came back, was the problem resolved?
No.
All right, talk to me.
Yeah, I came back, and the first thing I saw was a whole bunch of roaches.
In my courtroom, it's about equity and fairness. You want him to pay $628.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, knock my socks off. Justice should be more than just some foreign concept. I actually want you to learn something. The law talks about something may in fact be true, but can they prove it? And that's what's tough.
Fair, firm, compassionate. This is America's Court with Judge Ross. Jamie Miles claims her apartment was full of roaches and her landlord refused to do anything about them. So she took matters into her own hands. Ms. Miles is suing her landlord, Matt George, in the amount of $250. Mr. George claims the plaintiff is overreacting and he did everything he could to get rid of the roaches.
All rise. Remain standing and come to order. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Kevin Ross presiding.
Ladies and gentlemen, you may be seated.
All parties been sworn, Your Honor.
Third, get up to Thomas. Those roaches weren't working for you, huh? Talk to me, what happened?
My name is Jamie Miles,
Yes, Ms.
and
Miles.
I am suing my landlord for $250
Right.
for roach
You were
extermination.
complaining about the roaches, and you're saying Mr. Georges was not responding in kind.
Right. Well, I've been living there for a little less than a year. I do have a 2-year lease, and I noticed that I was getting roaches.
All right.
And
When you first mentioned the roaches, what was Mr. George's response?
I reacted right away, Your Honor.
I'm talking to her.
he was like, "I'll get to it." And I was
See,
like,
I got two different responses already.
Yeah.
I was immediately on it. Yeah, let me know.
Well, that's what he does with
What
all
you heard was, I'll get to you.
because
Is that right?
yes, because
All
that's
right.
happened before.
That's all I need to know.
Yeah.
What do you recall was your response?
So, Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
when she presented she said there was roaches, right away, I went ahead and I inquired with other tenants when I could actually do and bring in my friend who I have on contract.
When you spoke with the other tenants,
Friend.
were you able to ascertain that there was a problem with roaches?
I asked them, I inquired and said, have you guys had any roach problems in your personal apartment as well? Because I also live inside this building myself.
And you heard what?
And they said no.
All right. Nobody else was having a roach problem except for Miss Miles.
Correct.
Did you then do something specifically as it relates to her apartment unit?
I did. I went ahead and we had the whole building. I had my
You
friend
didn't
come
just
in.
do her, you just did everybody.
I did everything. I just did it as a safety precaution.
How
because
much
in case.
time went by from the time she initially told you about the roaches to the time you did what you did?
I believe it was a day.
Is that true?
Give or take.
Give or take.
But-
It wasn't drawn out.
No, but he
Here's
did-
why I asked that. Because the first thing I said to you was, okay, what was the response? And you went, oh, he'll get to it. He said, I was on it immediately. So when I said, well, when did it happen? You said about a day. Well, that's consistent with what he's saying. And the reason that that becomes an issue is I don't just hear you. I listen and I look and I'm thinking who's credible, who's not. So right now, Mr. Georges is pretty credible right now. After this work was done, then what happened?
Well, just let me say that he didn't give us much notice, and he made us all leave, vacate the building for an entire weekend.
You told him there was a problem.
Right.
He solved the problem.
But we had to leave the building.
Did you want
for
to
a whole
stay while
weekend.
the roach spraying was taking place?
No, but like a whole weekend, where am I supposed to go? You know?
Well, then what did you, if you're
And how do
complaining
I-
about, you don't want to live with roaches.
Right.
And you don't, and so he has to spray.
Right.
Well, what did you want him to do?
Well, I mean, from what I've heard, the spray only takes like 4 hours, and then you can come back. But he was like, no, we need to be gone for a whole weekend. So I had to go.
I told them at
stay
least
at a
an
friend's
extra day
house.
because of safety precautions to make sure that there was no reactions to the chemicals that were
because
used.
you can go buy something at the grocery store and spray it and that, and you can let that go for a few hours. But if it's something that's really potent, it's going to knock them roaches out.
But when I
It
came
may
back,
need to take a day or so to really get the, you know.
true. However,
Right.
when I came back,
Roaches check in, they don't check out, right? But I take it you were a little perturbed that you were inconvenienced.
well, yeah, I mean, it should have been done before I even moved in.
If I have to weigh a circumstance. Well, if I coulda, woulda, shoulda. You are there. There are roaches. And people talk about how they get into your property. And then you have the whole issue. People talk about they get depressed and they have anxiety and they stress when they see roaches. Roaches cause a certain reaction.
Yeah.
If you are responding to that and you're telling him, and he's saying, I'm going to take care of this right now, and I want to make sure I knock those suckers out, well, then it makes sense what he did. When you came back, was the problem resolved?
No.
All right, talk to me.
Yeah, I came back, and the first thing I saw was a whole bunch of roaches.
Coming up on America's Court.
Looks like there's roaches,
Well,
right?
I
You
took the
I mean, this is the
opportunity.
picture that you took to show me.
I obviously didn't crop it well enough, so. But that was the opportunity I needed to take a picture.
And later,
Well, wait a minute. He's your nephew.
Right.
I mean, I will say this. Anybody else, they wouldn't have given you this long.
closed captioning provided by. If you'll be in the Los Angeles area and want to bring your case to court, call 1-888-552-6878. This is America's Court with Judge Ross. America's Court is back with the case of Jamie Miles, who is suing her landlord, Matt George, for $250.
And did she tell you days later that?
So she told me, so it was 2 days later, she said that
2 days
she had roaches. I went in, did a walkthrough, and again inquired with other tenants to see if they had any
Did you see
problems.
any roaches when you went inside?
I did not see any roaches. I did not see any roaches alive, dead.
And you
One
made
thing I
inqu-
did notice, though, was that her trash was overflowing. She had food all over the oven. On the countertop, there was presence of food as well. Not only that, but I had also gotten complaints from some of the tenants about a certain aroma coming from that apartment.
That's not
Therefore,
coming
and
from
I
my
told her, I
apartment.
said, look, even though I have taken care of the roach problem, if you are inviting them in, there's only so much I can do to prevent that.
When it's a roach infestation, it's the whole building. No matter how clean your place is, it doesn't matter.
Well,
And
let's
I
start
had
with how
just-
clean your place is.
Well, I had just had some friends over, and I was about to take the trash out when he came unannounced to take a look for about 5 seconds, and then
Well,
decided
he
they
came
weren't there.
unannounced after you complained a second time.
Right.
So I was invited.
Here's what's happening. Every time he talks, he becomes more credible. Because it's not like you said, he's lying about the trash. He's lying about the food. You were like, yeah, I didn't take the trash. So again, he's going up. You're not so much going up. Okay? He handles it a second time by doing what?
Nothing. He said that he didn't see any roaches. I said, well, you came over during the day, and they don't really come out during the day. They come out at night. So he didn't see any.
A
and
lot
he
of times
decided-
because they're trying to avoid light. But
Right.
they're there if they're
Oh,
that.
they're there.
Right, yeah. So what I did, Your Honor, is when she inquired and said that, can you come down to my apartment? I have roaches again. Again, I did the walkthrough, didn't see any. Asked the other tenants. They said there was no presence. I had my friend who did the full extermination. He's top rated in our region. So I had him do the job. Then I said, okay, you need to take care of your hygiene problem because
I don't
that
have
is
a
going to
hygiene
invite
problem.
that's going to invite roaches to come just in general. Then I said, since we've gone through the full extermination, I said, if you really feel that skeptical about it, go ahead and grab some roach killers at your local convenience store. You can place those, and if
They don't
again
work.
you see them in like 2 weeks, let me know.
Did he tell
We'll
you
try to
that?
Yeah, they don't
Did you
work
do that?
though. They don't work.
Did he tell you that?
Yeah.
Did you do what he asked you to do?
No, I
No.
went ahead and
You
called another
said
exterminator.
they don't work.
They don't work because I've
Okay.
tried them before,
All right.
and the problem doesn't.
I didn't ask you that to see whether they worked or not. I asked you that to see if he was telling me the truth. And you confirmed he was telling the truth. He is very credible. There's nothing about what he's told me so far that you haven't confirmed is true. And if he's credible in telling me all these things, then I have no reason to doubt that he would not be credible in terms of not seeing roaches. He would not be credible in terms of asking other people. If there was, in fact, some sort of infestation, other people would be saying, I'm having this problem. Why don't you set some traps and just let's see what happens? You're like, that's not going to work. And then you go out and just hire someone to exterminate, yes?
Well, once I did
Yes.
that, yeah.
Yes.
But once I did that, they were gone. Problem was solved.
Okay. And you are now wanting him to pay for that cost.
Correct.
This is the receipt that you received from the person that you hired to solve the problem.
Right, a national reputable company, whereas his was like a local, his friend from college did it. I mean, you know, just
Your Honor, I'm not the only one that contracts him. He is
Just
a
the
reputable
reviews.
person in our region. I can't.
If
employ
we
him
had
by
started
myself.
this conversation and I hadn't heard everything that I heard, and you said he used some buddy of his named JoJo to come and do.
Yeah.
But as I'm listening to him, he's very credible. I don't have any reason to believe that he would lie about the exterminator he ended up hiring and their expertise and their ability to get the job done. Having said that, I'm looking at this picture, and this picture, I take it as inside your apartment next to some trash, and it looks like a box of pizza on the ground, and it looks like there's roaches.
well,
Right?
I
You
took the
I mean, this is the
opportunity-
picture that you took to show me.
I obviously didn't crop it well enough, so, but that was the opportunity I needed to take a picture of the, that's when they were there. They're in my bathroom too. It's not just my kitchen where all the food is.
Because by cropping it the right way, I wouldn't see everything that I'm seeing. Based on the evidence and the testimony before this court, the gavel is going to come down in favor of the defendant. You have a credibility issue with me when you said I didn't crop this picture right. Because now I have concerns about what you're telling me, whether or not they're true. Your matter's dismissed. Case closed.
All rise.
Judge Ross has ruled in favor of the defendant. The plaintiff's claim has been denied.
The judge saw that I do right by my tenants, and so I'm happy about the judgment.
My landlord did not solve my roach problem, and I don't think it's fair that I had to pay for it myself.
And coming up on America's Court with Judge Ross.
Yes,
What were you expecting?
Well, I was expecting to hopefully just ride on this successful business because I know it was very successful.
Closed captioning provided by. This is America's Court with Judge Ross. Robert Kopoloff claims his nephew still owes him money after taking over his successful college bar. Mr. Kopoloff is suing Tyler Kopoloff in the amount of $4,500. Mr. Kopoloff claims his uncle didn't disclose pertinent details related to the business and misrepresented the value of the bar.
The uncle is suing the nephew for management of this bar. You didn't quite expect that it was going to be all this, huh?
No, I did not.
You initially said you wanted to take over the bar that your uncle had had for several years, correct?
Yes.
All right.
And
And what were you expecting?
Well, I was expecting to hopefully just ride on this successful business because I know it was very successful. I had dinner with him right after I graduated college,
Yes.
saying that I was interested in taking over his bar whenever the time came where he was going to move on and hand it down.
And this was the time?
Yes, it was, Your Honor.
And what was it about this particular time that made it a good opportunity for you to transition out?
Well, Your Honor, I saw this as a great opportunity because I was looking to invest in another bar nearby, and
You couldn't keep both?
no, I couldn't. I couldn't afford it. I mean, despite of how successful the bar I was running at the time was.
And this is your bar that you established and maintained?
Yes.
And how long had you had this bar?
About 10 years.
All right. So during the 10-year run, it was great.
Yes, it was.
You wanted to move in a different direction?
I did.
And
yes.
what was it about the other bar that was different?
Honestly, it was attracting a larger crowd, and it was taking in more money.
Coming up on America's Court.
What happened to the other 500?
Well, what he didn't tell me right away was how much debt he was leaving me in when getting the business. Because as soon as I transferred over the business, there were a lot of payments that were left unpaid.
Closed captioning provided by. This is America's Court with Judge Ross. America's Court is back with the case of Robert Kopoloff, who is suing Tyler Kopoloff for $4,500.
What was the terms and conditions of the deal?
Well, our agreement I have right here.
Yes. Let me take a look at the agreement. But you can just tell me, Mr. Kopilov, what it was and you're Robert and you're Tyler.
Yes, the first agreement I came up with was, first of all, the value of the bar was $15,000, so we both agreed that he would pay me that. And we also agreed he would pay me $9,000 up front, which he did. I have a copy of the check with you right now. And the rest, the remaining $6,000 he would pay in the course of 6 months. So in the first month he paid me $500, and then the second and third month both $500. So a total of $1,500.
Well, wait a minute. It was a $6,000 balance
Yes.
over 6 months. That would be $1,000 a month.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes.
I mean, unless my math is wrong.
Yes.
Did you agree to pay him $1,000 over 6 months?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you paid him $500?
Correct.
Month 1, 2, and 3?
No, it did not. 500 each month.
Right, and I'm saying
Yeah.
first, second, third month after that, you only got $500.
Yes.
What happened to the other 500?
Well, what he didn't tell me right away was how much debt he was leaving me in when getting the business. Because as soon as I transferred over the business, there were a lot of payments that were left unpaid, which I had to take care of as well. It was
That's
inspections.
part of your due diligence of buying an establishment.
Well, he didn't tell me right away that he was at late fees. Like
Okay.
he was behind on many of his payments.
Judge Ross's verdict when America's Court returns. You're watching America's Court with Judge Ross. This is America's Court with Judge Ross.
This is more than just about give me my money. This is, you're going to learn today, this is business, this is how it's handled, and
Exactly.
okay.
You know, he's a grown adult. You know, he really wanted to do this. He's a bright kid, and I wanted to take a chance on him. So I guess in a way I let my emotions get the best of me.
Or he saw an
Well, wait a
opportunity.
minute. He's your nephew.
Right.
I mean, I will say this. Anybody else, they wouldn't have given you this long. What you have to make the determination of is, do you have the ability to weather this through?
I feel like I'm doing my best. I'm trying very hard. I tried my very best to make the payments, but I feel like I was just short, like a shorthand.
Okay.
That's how I feel.
All right. You know it has the ability to make money.
Yes.
You've seen how it works. You're going to have to make a decision on this money because based on the evidence and the testimony before this court, the gavel has to come down in favor of the plaintiff. You're learning some hard lessons. You're in your 20s, right? This is what it is to be in business for yourself and struggling with payroll and doing all that and taking out a loan and having people work with you. Welcome to the real world. Judgment in favor of the plaintiff. That's all. Case closed.
All rise.
Judge Ross has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant has been ordered to pay $4,500.
It's unfortunate I had to take my nephew to court over the sale of the bar, but business is business.
It's a hard lesson I learned today, but I'm going to take the judge's advice and pay my uncle back and make this bar a success.
Follow America's Court on Facebook and Twitter. This has been a production of Entertainment.